Welcome back everyone. Today, since I am doing a new progression soon, I would like to do a Slayer progression guide. That being said, this will be a mix of both beginner-friendly and advanced stuff. I hope this ends up giving a little bit more insight on why builds work for others and sometimes not for you. The first thing I would like to begin with is character creation. Remember, this is absolutely permanent unless you wipe your character at level 191 or above. This also applies for your character's gender, which can be the whole aesthetic of your creation. Assuming you chose Slayer, your character will spawn in with a wooden sword and rank Mizunoto, as well as one of the 4 innates, this being Strength, Technique, Constitution, and finally Intellect. This is arguably the most crucial part of your character, as it can decide and influence your choice in build creation. The reason behind this is that an innate gives you a 1.25 times modifier to whichever attribute that it correlates to. In mathematical terms, this means that if you invest 100 points into strength, you will receive an extra 25 points to your total. Many builds require high investment into a particular stat, so as such you ideally want to match your highest stat to your innate, otherwise lose out on the extra points. An example of this would be this generalized build with heavy investment into strength. The green stat numbers are the base amount of stat points invested. The red numbers indicate what their total stats would be if they had the corresponding innate. The next main thing in your Slayer progression would be creating skills and how to use them. You unlock these skills by killing demons and finishing missions or events. You can select up to 3 different components to create one singular skill on your move bar. As most of you know, you can create up to 10 at rank Kino. You must also name your ability and hit save, otherwise it will not create the move. An important note is that the more components in a move, the less damage each single hit does. However, the total damage will be increased. Next up is the blacksmith and sword stats. This is the last main part of build creation, and it will likely take the longest to grind out. To start off, the blacksmith lets you repair as well as upgrade your Nichiren sword. You obtain this by completing final selection, which I will mention later in the video. In order to repair your blade, you will need to add 3 scarlet crimson ores, as well as 2 scarlet crimson iron sand. As for upgrading your weapon, you will need to add only 2 of both the ore and the sand, as well as any other material components. These materials can consist of the quality stones, bloodstones, Nichiren steel, and the affinity gems. As each name implies, they increase that particular sword stat. Quality increases your sword's M1 damage, posture, and durability. Blood increases your siphon ability that deals more blood damage when cutting off a limb. Nichiren increases your Nichiren stat, which prolongs the time it takes a demon to heal when they take damage from an M1. And finally, affinity increases your damage on any breathing moves. As a result, you can upgrade your weapon to a total of 210% with varying stats. However, many Slayers choose between siphon, affinity, and Nichiren. Quality is simply a bad route and rather untested as far as breathless goes. Many builds will decide to go 105% affinity as well as a secondary stat of either Nichiren or siphon, depending on if they are burst or limb. Moving on to the whole essence of being a Slayer, breathing level. At level 10 breathing, you will receive a passive buff called Total Concentration Breathing. This activates whenever you are breathing and using moves. It greatly enhances the charge rate and capacity of your breath. The next benchmark is at level 25, where you will receive Total Concentration Constant. This will automatically breathe for you, as well as unlocks your breathing passive. I am playing sound, so I deafen and blind my opponents on hit. The training requires money or yen, and its first training is 20k yen found at the Slayer Core in Tokyo. This levels you up from 1 to 15 breathing level. From 15, you will need to use the 40k yen until level 25. Next would be 60k until 35. And finally 80k, where you can cap out at, I believe, 80 breathing level. Every 5 levels you must do a gourd training to increase your potential as shown in the clip. Breathing trainings consist of kendo, rock pulling, as well as boulder lifting. All of them are exactly the same XP, however I suggest doing kendo training only. The reason behind this is because moving past 40K breathing there isn't a boulder lifting or pulling training until 80K training. The only training for 60K is kendo training found in the Forest Slayer base. Moreover, some of the other trainings such as boulder lifting has a bug where you cannot receive SS rank. Kendo guarantees you a chance at it as long as you are good enough, so I suggest practicing it.
Recording started.
To end off the beginner-friendly portion of the guide, let's talk about final selection. In the clip you will see me running to final selection from Slayer Core in Tokyo. This will then teleport you to Forest where you will spawn in the Spider Cave.
Recording started.
Now that you've spawned, exit the Spider Cave and follow along the right wall path until you see a ramp which you need to go up and follow. I didn't follow the path like I said to do in the clip, however you can also just hug the right wall and you should still end up in the same place. Again, just follow my movements. Up ahead is the hill path that I was talking about. Once you've reached this point, you will make a sharp right after going up it. From that point, follow the path directly. As I will soon mention, do not go left after climbing the hill. There is a dev-implemented killing mechanic that instant kills you. Go right, that path leads you to final selection. In order to complete final selection, you have to do 2 tasks. The first task is to get credit for 15 demons. I phrase it like this because you do not need to actually execute them. Simply hit the demon 2 times and you will receive credit for the kill. Once you've hit the demon twice, you can actually move on and find another one to maximize on your kill progression. The next task is to simply live until dawn, which starts at the 59-minute mark. My suggestion for this task is to get to high ground and turning your graphics up to help avoid the hand demon. Staying on top of a waterfall is a good idea, however the hand demon jumps so he can climb it eventually.
Recording started.
Once you've completed final selection, you will be teleported to the Slayer Core Blacksmith. You will also receive a special or in your inventory, which when talking to the blacksmith will turn you into a demon slayer. This also gives you your Nichiren katana, which can be different depending on your breathing. That's all for now for the beginner course. We've covered how to get your character started, how to level up, how to upgrade your breath and Nichiren, as well as completing the final selection to become a slayer. Now it's time to go over many of the advanced knowledge that I find to be left out. To start, let's talk about the most unknown thing I have found in this game, and that is breathing level beyond 25. Apparently, no one knows about the fact that your breathing will still notice a huge difference past level 25. Yes, there are things like Slayer Mark and See-Through World, both requiring around 40 to 45 breathing level. However, your breathing capacity and charge rate still increases beyond even 40 and 45. I talked to a balancer on the game to confirm this, and they said that you stop noticing a difference at level 50 breathing level. This is huge and important information that I have seen nowhere in any guides or logs but has always been a genuine question of mine. The reason why it is so important is relatively obvious. However, any asthma breathers will simply no longer feel so consumed by the constant waiting for your skills due to this change. It won't make you spam like water, but it will certainly help with not being able to use moves at times. On the topic of See-Through World and Slayer Mark, the requirements are as follows. For Slayer Mark, level 200, Kino rank, 20 kill streak, 50 event wins, breathing level 50, and 350 total demon player kills. You also need to be in a PD while in Surge and 40% health to activate it. For See-Through World, you need Slayer Mark as well as a 25 kill streak instead of 20. Both of these can be obtained at the same time. Now, why is this in the Advanced Slayer portion of the guide? That is because of how most people think they should obtain Slayer Mark. Many people think you need to get the 25 kill streak once they're 200. However, there is no reason they can't grind the kills at a lower level. As you all know, there's a difference between investment points and level. So you can hypothetically get all the requirements at level 50, 80, 100, etc. since you have an easier time killing demons at lower levels. Grind up your level, then once everything is completed, then invest your points and hop in a PD. Further going on this idea, most demons only have 25 limb once they are in the 100s, so a Slayer being level 50 with total concentration constant, as well as rank Kino would be such an easy matchup. Moreover, since Q times are so much faster at lower levels. This next portion of the guide contains content that most Slayers know by now. However, I'd like to talk about upgrading your Nichiren sword. This isn't really all that insane of a thing, however. When your sword is at 207% total, you can actually use every single component to add 3% of every stat, letting you go beyond 210%. Sorry for the bad photo, but this was from a pillar, not my own content. Moving on, perks can heavily influence your level progression as well. And again, not many videos I find cover this information. First, we will start with Deep Breather. This is a must-have perk until you've gotten to level 50 breathing or above. There are no other options than this. Just get this perk. That being said, if you're done with this perk or simply trying to wipe quickly by reaching 80 as fast as possible, I recommend using safe farming. Safe farming, as you can see, increases all PvE EXP by 2 times, yet reduces all player PvP gains by half. The reason why I recommend this is because if you just grind fast missions with a LVL 9 character, you can effectively double your EXP gains. Not only that, but since safe farming is a utility, it can be combined with Plunderer's Instinct. This is the best leveling, material, stat node, and move comp grinding in the game. The reason for this is that it doubles all mission and demon rewards. This even includes event wins. Again, I would say Plunderers is a must-have along with Deep Breather. Unless you go with the max EXP route Plunderers plus safe farming. The last thing I would like to mention is the Greedy perk. This is, in my opinion, the most misguiding perk in the game. The only good thing about this perk is the 40% reduction in money loss. This perk makes you think you get 40% more money, however it is only on kills. Missions and events do not count towards this. NPCs give hardly any cash, so the only benefit would be from players, but you'd be better off running Plunderers or a more competitive perk. Speaking of fighting demon players, I have some tips for combat. This can actually go for both races, however the main thing is that sometimes you need to get hit in order to parry. Some moves are near instant, and as such you have to either predict parry or risk getting block broken. As far as M1s go, with Slayers our block lasts for quite a long time after a parry, and we cannot parry straight after a block. This is called parry spamming. Do not do this. Instead, take the hit and parry the next one. Getting your block hit does a weird stun on your character which locks up your dodge and parry mechanics. The next thing is how to parry stack and move stack and why it's so important. This is more or less just a given in Roblox combat games, where you can move stack your M1 with an ability. What you may not know is that you can also do this right after a parry. An M1 after a parry has a wind-up like a normal M1, however your breathing abilities all come out near instantly after a parry.
Recording started.
As you can see in the clip above, right after I parry the NPC demon attack, I use a deflecting slash. And again after a parry, I use my whirling rising slash. Even though the rising slash has a wind-up, it still comes out instantly after the parry. In this entire clip I only parry move stack, so practice what I show. Ended up getting deep breather too. Very nice.
Recording
In this
started.
next clip I will be showcasing move stacking with M1. Like I mentioned, the way to do this is right after your M1. That being said, do not click both buttons at the same time. You will want to use the ability right when the M1 is about to land in order to move stack correctly. This is especially useful if you need to apply your Nichiren debuff, or want to deal some extra damage with burst builds. Again, I'll let the clip play out so you can see the difference between move stacking and parry move stacking. You can essentially do the same thing with dodges, where you can roll and use a move at the same time, which can also be very useful. This should come natural while playing though once you've experienced the combat enough. To end off the video, the only way of obtaining Charged Strike is by defeating the string boss found in Forest. He only spawns at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It is not guaranteed either. You may have to defeat the boss more than once. I recommend being level 120 to 130 depending on ping and breathing style. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you found some useful information in here. Again, my main points are getting to level 50 breathing and making sure to use the correct perks. If you all have any further questions, feel free to DM me in the Discord server at Fervor14 or in the comments. I hope to have more content on the game soon.